Chapter 21. Sealed with a kiss. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. As Felix exited the room, Leonard and Kylo approached the four who were still standing. Finally. That was long. I thought it was just Charlton and Ms. Evans. But I was surprised that even you and Ms. Serena were included. Anyway, what did Sir Felix tell you guys? Kylo asked, looking at Jeffrey. He asked us to play for his niece's wedding. Jeffrey responded. Did you agree with that, Serena? Leonard asked as he stood beside his sister. Brows furrowing. That teacher really did have guts. Asking a duke's daughter to play a song on the wedding of a mere earl's daughter. Well, it was a favor, Brother Leonard. I would be happy to make their wedding a memorable one. Serena replied as she gave him a convincing smile. Leonard just looked at her and nodded. Convinced that his sister was truly kind-hearted. Really? So, let me guess, he asked you and Ms. Serena to play her song as a duet, right? Kylo teased as he slung his arm on Charlton's shoulder, as if comforting him. Jeffrey shook his head, but no words left him as he couldn't put into words what just transpired. He can't say that it was his fiancée who chose not to pair up with him, because in the end, it was still him who chose not to. That was the initial plan, but given Jeffrey's schedule, it would be difficult to meet with Ms. Serena frequently. Thus, Sir Felix decided to switch the pairing. This time it was Charlton who answered. Serena looked at him with bright eyes. She did not miss to note that he now called her by name. What do you mean by that? Leonard, who looked at Jeffrey, voiced with a hint of anger. He could only assume that it was Jeffrey who rejected pairing with his sister. Serena, noticing the anger in her brother's voice, interrupted, Brother, it was my idea. I was afraid that I will be taking too much of His Highness' time because my song is new. Also, I don't even have a score for it yet. So please do not take it the wrong way. Leonard, not wanting to upset his sister, can only glare at Jeffrey. He knew that learning the song would be very easy for Jeffrey if he wanted to. That is true. I still have to preside over the student council meeting every Saturday. You are aware about that, Leonard. Jeffrey, in defense of himself, explained. On the other hand, while tension was brewing between the two, Kylo faced Charlton incredulously. Charlton only raised his brow as if daring him to comment. Excuse me, but, if you don't mind, I would wish to proceed and see the rooms. Emily interjected with a hint of impatience. It did offend her that they kept talking and interacting like she doesn't exist. Serena, hearing Emily, turned to face her. It hasn't been that long, has it? She thought as she observed her. Although Emily was dressed simply, she did not seem misplaced. The fact that she was a mere baron's daughter did not make her meek in front of them. Serena can even sense pride emitting from her. In her past life, Serena was not a fan of self-righteous female leads like Emily. In general, they have a one-track mind that sees things in black and white. They believe that their morality is above reproach, that in whichever situation, they will insist that whatever it is they think correct is always right. Worse, is that when they feel wronged, they will only attribute it to their, or lack thereof, position in society. Thus, they are endlessly competitive, wanting to prove that they have more worth, demanding equality in respect, while at the same time, being very prejudiced. Oh, the hypocrisy! Another annoying thing is that they always either pretend to lack awareness, or play hard to get, pushing and pulling the male characters, as if their world should only revolve around her. However, Serena also understands that they were like that because they were written that way. So, although she didn't like Emily that much in the novel, there was no need to antagonize her so long as she doesn't cross her. Apologies for holding you up, Emily. Serena replied in friendly manner. If it is all right with everyone, perhaps we should go. By the way, my friend is waiting for me. May I also ask her to join us? Jeffrey had to give Serena another look. He was surprised that she was not the arrogant character he thought. Not that he found anything wrong with what Emily said. It's just that he never thought her as someone with humility. Emily felt her face flush. She wasn't expecting Serena to apologize. Not knowing how to respond, she only gave a nod. The boys voiced their agreement, then everyone moved to get their things. Millie, sorry to keep you waiting. Would you like to join us and see the private music room? We can go to town after. Serena suggested. Yes, of course, I would love to. Millie readily agreed. When the others reached them, Serena introduced Millie to everyone. Everyone, this is my friend Ms. Millicent Stark. Millie, you've met my brother. Emily is our classmate, but here are my brother's friends. Mr. Charlton Daniel, Mr. Kylo Lewis and His Highness Geoffrey William. Millie curtsied to everyone. She received a nod from Leonard, a smile from Charlton and Emily, and a wink from Kylo. Let's go. Geoffrey announced irately, not giving any acknowledgement to Serena's friend. He doesn't understand why he felt peeved with Serena's introduction. He does plan on breaking their engagement anyway. In this way, Geoffrey walked in front of the group and the rest followed. What's up with Geoffrey? He's acting like he's got stick up his ass. Kylo exclaimed in low voice. Charlton shrugged as if saying that's got nothing to do with me. What's running in that head of yours? Charlton shook his head and sighed. He and Kylo were walking at the rear of the group. Serena was just in front of him. On her left, guarding her like a hawk, was Leonard. While on her right, her arm was looped with her friend, Millie. At the very front, Geoffrey was walking with the girl, Emily. I need to get her alone. The private rooms were located at the end of the corridor while their music classroom was located at the very front. Thus, they still had to walk for about 100 meters to get there. The hallway was long. On the left were the doors leading to the clubrooms, while on their right were windows overlooking the field being used for croquet. When they arrived at the end, they went inside a room which had a foyer leading to 8 smaller rooms. All the rooms had a small see-through window so that one may see what's inside. Geoffrey took out the key which their teacher gave him and opened the first room on their left. So here we are. Geoffrey said as the others followed him. The private room had ample space. Its interior was wooden with a chandelier. Upon entering, one can directly see a grand piano facing the door, while on its right, was a space meant for accompaniment. In front, beside the door, there was an L-shaped couch with a low table. Kylo whistled, thinking this room is perfect for a tryst. This is nice. I didn't know our school has this. Serena commented, thinking this room is just perfect. He. It's also my first time to see this, Leonard said as he smiled at his sister. Serena, do inform me ahead of time whenever you will be having your rehearsal. It would be nice if I can join you. He continued while thinking, we can't have you staying with a man alone without a chaperone. Of course, brother Leonard. Serena said sweetly. As if. Kylo raised a brow. What a cock-block. Emily sat in front of the piano, excited to test it. Geoffrey too was busy observing the room. Charlton, noticing this, turned to Serena. Ms. Serena, would you like to come with me and have a look at the room assigned to us? He asked with a smile, hinting that he wants to talk to her alone. All right, let's go. Serena replied. TBC. Chapter 22. Sealed with a Kiss 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As they exited the door, Serena winked at Millie and let go of her arm. Millie, of course, was not stupid. She stopped following them and pretended to look at another room through its window. When Charlton unlocked the door at the end and entered, Kylo, ever the wingman, slung his hand over Leonard's shoulder. Hey Leonard, look at this, he said as he pulled him towards another door looking through the window to see what's inside. Serena was surprised when she entered the door. Charlton directly pulled her to the side, closed the door, enclosed her between his arms, and then dived right in to kiss her. Not the chaste kiss that first kisses usually are. But a full-blown kiss involving the tongue filled with fervent desire and passion. Well, what can our dear Serena do? She kissed back with equal ferocity, of course. Charlton only deigned it time to separate when they were both out of breath. Just so you know, I've wanted to do that since I first saw you. Charlton whispered. Well, we have more in common then. Serena replied, a bit breathless. I'm afraid, we don't have that much time now. Promise to meet me tomorrow. Yes. I'll fetch you at 9. No, that will cause people to talk. Let's meet here instead. Serena suggested, smiling mischievously. I like how your mind works. Charlton replied with a smirk. Then seriously added, Serena, you cannot regret this. Back at you. You cannot regret this. Never. Then let's seal it with a kiss. Serena said as she placed both her hands on his cheeks, pulled him closer, and kissed him. What is up with you? Leonard asked Kylo, confused as to why he pulled him over. Well, I was just so excited. So see these rooms. See here. This room has 2 upright pianos. Hey, why did Sir Felix not include us in the performance? He's so biased. Well, let me think. Aside from your mediocre guitar skills, what else? Can't you put it more nicely? Are you seriously asking me that question? Well, yes, it will be their honor to have a prince like me attend. Leonard just rolled his eyes. Come on, let's go. Wait, don't you want to know how your sister's been doing in class? You should ask her friend over there. It would be better to get a third person's opinion. Your sister might not be telling you the truth. Did you just accuse my sister of being a liar? Ha! Of course not. It's just that girls are quite shy in sharing the truth all the time. Especially if they're being bullied or having difficulties. You may have a point there, but my sister is very capable. Let's go. Well, capable indeed. Anyways, you better thank me, Charlton. I guess I already bought you enough time, Kylo thought as he saw Geoffrey and Emily exit the first room. When the others entered their room, Serena was already seated in front of the piano. Charlton, on the other hand, was standing at the other end pretending to look at the other instruments. The room was like the first room, the only difference is that this room had a study table and more chairs. Serena liked this room better though, if for nothing else, because of its location. It was located at the end of the left row, making it rare for people to pass through its door. Apologies everyone, I have to go ahead. It is a pleasure to meet all of you. Emily started, her face showing some discomfort. Are you all right? Millie asked. Yes, don't mind me. I just remembered something important. Millie and I can walk back with you to the dorm. Serena suggested. No need, I can manage. But thank you. Emily rejected. Oh, all right. Take care. I too have to leave. I still have to prepare for the meeting tomorrow morning. Geoffrey said as he excused himself, using the Students' Council meeting every Saturday morning as justification. I wonder what happened. Oh well, must be one of the scenes where the heroine is pushing the male lead away. Serena thought. Serena, are you sure you don't want to join us? We can wait for you here. Leonard told Serena as he, together with Charlton and Kylo, stood at the lobby of her dorm. Yes brother, we girls need our alone time too. Serena said with Millie beside her. It was already getting chilly and she had to change before they go out. Besides, much as I would like to join you guys, I still have to prepare for tomorrow. Alright. I'm afraid I can't guarantee time tomorrow as I don't know how long the student council meeting will take. Have you set a schedule with Charlton for your rehearsal? Leonard asked. Is Sunday after lunch alright with you, Mr. Charlton? Serena asked. Yes, sounds good. Charlton replied. Hey, can I join too? The more the merrier. Kylo chimed in. Sure. Millie, please join us too. Serena even suggested. Millie nodded with a smile. Well then, we will go ahead. See you on Sunday. Leonard ended, satisfied. While the three boys were leaving, Charlton looked back at Serena. Serena saw him do so and enthusiastically blew him a kiss. After the boys left, Serena changed to a more appropriate dress for the weather. Then she and Millie went shopping in town. She was pleasantly surprised to find that even in this era, wax was readily available. What can she say? She never liked hair down there. Tomorrow can't arrive soon enough. TBC. Chapter 23. I read some books. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Serena arrived outside the private music room about 5 minutes earlier than their scheduled meeting time. As she looked over the glass window, she saw that Charlton was already inside playing with the chords of the piano. Charlton looked up and stopped playing as he heard the door open. You're here early. Serena said as she smiled. I couldn't sleep. Charlton answered as he stood up. Serena grinned as she closed the door shut and locked it. She observed that his coat was placed on top of the piano while his well-fitted polo was folded to his elbows with the top 2 buttons undone. Don't you feel hot with that on? Charlton asked, noting that Serena was wearing a long velvet cape with faux fur trimming. What do you think? Serena asked as she faced him and unhooked the cape, letting it fall from her shoulders leaving it heaped on the ground. Charlton couldn't hide his look of astonishment and had to physically stop himself from gaping. He has never seen a woman as beautiful nor as daring. Serena was wearing a fitted white lace negligée, so thin was it, that he can clearly see that she was not wearing anything else underneath. If you keep wearing dresses like that in front of me, don't blame me for tearing them off. Charlton said as he wrapped an arm around her waist, pulled her towards him and kissed her. Feeling out of breath, Serena detached her lips from his. I brought extra clothes just in case you're wondering. So, feel free to do so. Stopping himself from doing just that, Charlton had to painfully detangle himself from Serena after gaining some of his sense back. Wait, someone might see. He said, recalling the glass window. I'm prepared for that. Serena replied as she bent to open her bag on the floor and then took out a film-like looking sticker. I found this at the market yesterday. I must say that I'm ill-prepared for this. Charlton said as he furrowed his brows. He will be lying if he were to say that he didn't dream of something like this happening today. However, despite all the scenarios which played on his mind, he never expected Serena to take the initiative. He still thought of her as an innocent maiden who just exited her boudoir. Serena stood up and gave the sticker to Charlton. Then she placed her right hand on the bulge of his pants, directly gripping his erection. Well, I must say that you're not. Now, do place the sticker on the window. If I didn't know any better, I would say that you're just doing this to spite me. Geoffrey remarked as Leonard rejected his proposal one after the other. I don't find what you're suggesting as reasonable. Leonard remarked. What part in this do you find not reasonable? Doing charity work every Sunday on the same orphanage will only cause comparison, jealousy, and suspicion. Leonard reasoned. I see your point, but if we were not to focus on just one, our efforts will only look good on the surface. Geoffrey argued. You may be right, but what we need is greater impact. How about we cast our vote on this matter? Geoffrey suggested. Leonard can only sigh. Although he is still aggravated with Geoffrey regarding Serena, what he is doing now is nothing personal. He does believe that it would be better to spread their efforts for wider impact. Now with vote casting, Geoffrey would surely have his way. He lamented that the members would go along with what the Crown Prince wants. Geoffrey exhaled satisfied. He knew that Emily plays on that church where the orphanage was every Sunday. In one of her letters, she once expressed her grievance for the poor orphans who needed aid and guidance. She said that the children barely had enough for survival, and worse was that they sorely lacked educational materials and teachers. She also stated that much as she wanted to help, her situation does not allow her. He can only smile while thinking of her compassion. She has been avoiding him since she found out that he was the crown prince. Yesterday, she even lashed out on him, asking him if he found her funny. That all this time, they have been writing to each other, with her telling him all her secrets and ambitions. Thinking that she knew him all along. That he was just like her. Only to find out his noble personage, and not only that, he was already engaged. Although the two of them made no promises of love, and they have only met 4 to 5 times in person at most, they have been writing to each other for a year. They can almost be labeled as lovers. Geoffrey can only deny everything, saying that it was not his intention to fool her, nor was he laughing at her. That he is simply the man she knew in the letters and all he has written to her were true. In the end, she left him staring at her back. He can only hope that by doing this outreach project, she will see his sincerity and forgive him. TBC. Chapter 24. I read some books too. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Warning. Mature content. Charlton was flabbergasted with Serena's action. Although he has never been in a serious romantic relationship before, he did engage with the pleasures of the flesh a couple of times. Going through adolescence, he had been curious of the opposite gender. With Kylo on his side as the instigator, his first encounter was with a low-born girl in Allegheny who he met at a local bar. Thankfully, she did not have syphilis and he came out of it as an enlightened man, unscratched. After that, he learned to use the rubber and it became easier to move from one girl to the next. All low-born, of course. He and Kylo will not mess with the high-born ones, fearing that they will immediately be forced to tie the knot. Serena was unlike any of them. In fact, she is the opposite. All the girls always had this inhibition even though they were the ones who first shown him their motive. On the other hand, Serena had no such pretense. She simply went straight to get what she wanted confidently. He wondered if all high-born ladies were like her, but quickly eliminated that idea. His Serena was in a league of her own. She was everything he told himself he will not touch. A high-born lady engaged to his very own cousin. A maiden who can want for nothing, for everything she could ever want and deserve are within her reach. A real queen to be, and yet, she wanted him. He felt his chest tighten as he was suddenly filled with an intense desire to possess her. He never knew he could want someone as much as he wanted her. He once prided himself as a man who can't be ruled by his emotions, but he has proven himself wrong. He wanted her so much that he was bursting with the need to make her his completely, in every sense of the word. It was like he was obsessed. After successfully covering the glass window, Charlton walked back to Serena. He wrapped his arms around her waist as he kissed her, then he placed his hands under her derriere lifting her up. She in turn wrapped her legs around his waist. Then, he sat her on top of the piano. He moved from kissing her mouth, to her neck, to her collarbones, and when he reached her breast covered by the lace, he tore her negligee, revealing her rounded orbs and her pink nipples. He grasped both, each in his hand as he licked and suckled them, as if trying to milk them. Serena couldn't stop herself from moaning. Satisfied only when her nipples were already red and swollen, he continued to tear her cloth, kissing every part being exposed, her stomach, her navel, until he reached her apex. He was surprised to find that she had no hair between her legs. He looked back to her face and then their eyes met. "I wanted to be clean," Serena said as she blushed. "Where did you learn how to do this?" Charlton asked. He can already feel his stomach churn, afraid that she may have already let another man see her like this. "I read some books," Serena answered, thinking how chauvinistic most men of this era are. Envy. Charlton knew that he has no right to feel this way. He was no innocent himself, but he still felt some gratification when she said that. He laid her back flat on top of the piano, then he opened her legs and stared at the pinkness of her womanhood. You are beautiful. He kissed the behind of her thighs, running his lips like feathers over her skin. Then he approached her pearly gates with his whole face, nuzzling her clitoris with the bridge of his nose. He kissed her middle once, then parted her labia with his tongue like Moses spreading the Red Sea. She tasted divine. He lapped her wet arousal like a man who got lost in a desert finding water for the first time. He had never performed cunnilingus before, but what he lacked in experience, he made up with enthusiasm. Encouraged by her moans of appreciation, he inserted his index finger to her hole, noting its tightness as he continued putting pressure by sucking her clit. Serena felt her knees sore, so she sat back up and pulled his head up by tugging his hair to kiss him. She tasted herself on his lips. Then she went down of the piano. Charlton looked at her confused. Serena always believed in reciprocity, so she smirked at him, unbuckled his belt and saw his thick and long rod come to life. She couldn't stop herself from measuring it by wrapping her hand around it. She kneeled in front of him, then kissed his arousal. Charlton couldn't stop the groan escaping his lips. She even dared to look him in the eye as she licked him. Then she started sucking his shaft, gripping it with her hand, while the other was teasing his testicles. This has got to be the best blow-job he ever received in his life. Wait, Serena, stop. Charlton said, not wanting to finish prematurely. Serena looked him in the eye as she stopped and stood up. He kissed her again as he carried her to the sofa at the side, not forgetting to pick up the cloak she was wearing earlier for her to lay on. Are you sure? Charlton just had to ask. Will you stop if I say no? No, Charlton chuckled. I wasn't able to bring rubber, but I promise not to release it inside. Serena, not knowing when her period was, given that she just arrived a week ago, can only nod. Don't worry, I have abstained for more than a year and am clean. I also swear that you will be the only one from now on. Okay, I believe you. So please. Please what? Charlton, wanting to tease her, asked. Please give it to me. You might have been abstaining for more than a year, but for me, it's been more than a decade. So move. Charlton smiled at her impatience. So he directed his shaft towards her entrance and slowly pushed to enter her. Charlton had to painfully stop himself from moving. If he didn't believe her before, he was 100% sure to believe her now. She was squeezing him so tight, that he is afraid that he might just finish under a minute if he were not careful. Moving slowly forward, he felt a barrier blocking the tip of his penis. Then he pushed hard. Serena can only stifle her scream by biting his shoulder. She couldn't stop the tears falling from her eyes. He kissed her tears as he slowly moved. Shoo, it's all right, Serena. Please don't cry. Serena nodded. Her arousal mixed with, what she assumed, was her own virginal blood, became their lubricant, turning the initial pain to pleasure. Their moans and groans filled the room as they explored different positions. Too much excitement made Serena reach climax at least thrice, before Charlton pulled out of her. Being quite the grateful girl she was, not wanting a bad review, she made Charlton seat as she bent in front of him, gripped his shaft, then moved her hand up and down. Charlton pulled her up and kissed her to cover his loud groan as he released his seed on her hand. TBC, it's my first time writing an erotic scene, do not leave a bad review. Ha ha ha. Chapter 25. Dirty little secret. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Serena, I will talk to Jeffrey regarding your engagement. I have no intention of making this a one-time thing. I will take responsibility. Charlton said as he stroked her naked back. After their lovemaking earlier, she asked him to get wet wipes and a bottle of water from her bag. As she was still sore, Charlton wiped themselves clean, then helped her drink. Currently, because the couch was small, she was laying on top of him. You don't have to do that. That would only ever spell trouble. Serena said in reply. How about making sure he breaks it first? Serena suggested. Please pray tell, how you plan to make that happen. I believe that he is having an affair. Charlton creased his brows. Were you just using me to get back at him? He half-jokingly asked, but at the same time couldn't help but feel sour. Serena looked at him, chuckled and straightened his wrinkled glabella with her fingers. I don't need to go this far just to make him jealous. She reasoned, then kissed the spot on his forehead where her fingers had been. Charlton nodded, then he pulled her down for another chaste kiss. I do have reasons to believe he is. However, I have no idea with whom, nor how deep their relationship goes. Charlton told her truthfully. Well, it's with Emily. Serena answered directly. Now you should never grow to have feelings for her, just in case. Which Emily? The one in our music class. Are you sure? Charlton said with some doubt. You don't believe me. I do believe you, it's just that she seemed so upright. I will never guess she had it in her. Lord Daniel, did you just compliment another girl in front of your girlfriend? Serena pouted and playfully hit his chest. Charlton's ears perked with the title. He flipped them over so that Serena is now underneath him. I like the sound of that, he commented. Which one? The girlfriend. Then he kissed each of her eye, the tip of her nose, then her lips. Are you asking for round 2 now? May I? I still feel sore. Right. Then just continue telling me more about your plan. Okay, so as I was saying, he is having an affair with Emily. Same as you, I don't know how deep their relationship goes as of now. But I do know that it will go deep enough for him to break our engagement in the future. Was that the reason you pitted them together? Well, among others, Serena replied as she kissed his bobbing Adam's apple. I did find it strange when he agreed to perform with her. So, you believe me now? I never said that I didn't. Charlton replied as he touched the tip of her nose with his index finger. Serena slapped his hand away. She was reminded of her late husband's bad habit of touching her nose like that. Don't do that, it's annoying. But your nose is too cute, it's just begging to be touched. Serena rolled her eyes as she pushed him, making him get off her as she raised herself to sit. As I was saying, once he falls deep enough, he will break his engagement with me. Why should it be him to break it? Can't we just catch them red-handed, and then you go break it? Charlton asked, the thought of another man rejecting her not sitting well with him. Don't be stupid. That's not a good enough reason. You do know that it is next to impossible for me to be the one to break it. First, this is an engagement ordained by the king himself. Second, even if I wanted to, I cannot break it, unless I'm willing to let my family get the repercussions. Third, you obviously cannot just announce that you're having an affair with me unless you want the both of us to face the guillotine. Lastly, you know that there is more leniency for men in society and that it has always been unfair to women. So an affair on his end will just earn an earful at most, but nothing beyond that. Serena reasoned carefully. Besides, we just got together. That does not automatically mean that we should get married, or even worse, ruin the rest of our lives. What's up with these young people who just wants to jump directly into marriage without getting to know their partner better? Well, you did think this through. Although, facing the guillotine is quite too much of an exaggeration. Perhaps exile tops. All the same, you know I'm right. I understand, Serena. I would never want to put you, your reputation, and anything or anyone you hold dear in jeopardy. But at the end of the day, if your plan doesn't work, just know that I'm willing to risk everything for you. I swear it. Charlton stated seriously as he raised her hand to kiss it. Serena just smiled at him. Serena, I think you judged the second male lead wrong. What willing to let you go in the future after this? You should be thankful enough that he's even willing to be your dirty little secret for now. Take note, that is just for now. Serena told herself, well, whatever, just go with the flow. It's too early to presume, things might still change in the future. As they say, the only thing that is constant is change. I don't know about you, but I'm famished. Serena said, changing the topic. I am, but it's also nice, just staying together like this. Charlton said as he stood up to dress himself. After, he went to get her bag on the floor and then handed it to her. Thank you. Serena courteously replied as she got her dress and undies from her bag. You know, seeing you wearing those just makes me want to tear them. Charlton commented as she wore her red undergarments. Don't you dare. These were not easy to make. You made those, he asked, omitting from saying, so that's why I've never seen them before. Which has been at the tip of his tongue. What do you think? Serena asked as she stood straight, showing him her low-cut balcony bra with matching cheeky panties. Like what you see. Charlton can only swallow. He uneasily replied, saying, please put me out of my misery and wear your dress. Serena laughed. Luckily, it was the weekend, and the halls were empty. Charlton, noticing Serena's slight limp, carried her across his arms like a bride despite her protest. Put me down. Someone might see. Stop moving, we might accidentally tumble. Am I not heavy? Light as a feather. Besides, it will take us forever to get to my carriage if I let you walk. Charlton smirked. Men and their massive ego. Serena thought as she draped her arms around his neck for support. Well, it's not like I don't like it. Charlton only let her feet touch the ground when they reached the building's main entrance. Then he assisted her as he led her in front of a carriage waiting at the exit. Serena looked at him confused. What's with that look? Don't tell me you didn't expect me to prepare anything for the day. He said as he opened the door. No, I didn't really, Serena shook her head teasingly. I'm so hurt to know that my girlfriend thought so little of me. He replied as he placed his palm on his chest, feigning pain. Serena giggled. This part of our date, I was much obliged to prepare. Then he offered his hand to Serena, helping her enter the carriage. The rest of the day passed quickly. Charlton took her to a discreet-looking high-end restaurant in which he booked a private room for lunch. They passed through a back door to avoid anyone who might recognize them. Lunch was a sordid affair. They flirted, experimented with the food, explored the different flavors of ice cream while exploring each other's mouth, and even played footsie under the table. The sun was about to set when they exited the restaurant. Given that they were careful of being seen alone, they did not have a lot of options when it came to the places they can go to. Aside from that, Serena was already tired. Thus, they agreed to call it a day. Going back to the school, Charlton handed a small pouch to the guard on duty and gave him a wink. The man gave him a salute and let them pass through without the need for inspection. You've done this before? Serena asked, stunned. I didn't know he had this side to him. No, it was Kylo who gave me the idea. Why? Jealous. Charlton teased. You wish. He laughed as he hugged her. Yes, I wish. Charlton asked the coachman to stop a few meters away from the ladies' dorm. This day ended too quickly. I loathe to part from you. We'll see each other again tomorrow. Serena said as she kissed his lips. Tell me again why we have to spend it with the others. Can't I just have you for myself? Much as I want that too, I'm afraid that with just the two of us, we won't be able to get any work done. Don't forget, we still need to express our appreciation to Sir Felix through our performance. Serena laughingly said. When the carriage stopped, Charlton went down and looked from left to right. Not seeing a soul in sight, he helped Serena down. Tomorrow can't come soon enough. Are you sure you don't want to set a private meeting with me on an earlier time? He persisted. Sorry, I already promised brunch with Millie. Besides, tomorrow is bound to be a long day. Serena answered truthfully. Just testing my luck. Charlton said with a lopsided smile. I'll see you tomorrow. Serena said as she walked towards the dormitory. Charlton watched her until she went inside. TBC. Chapter 26. Sunday with Friends. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Apparently, Serena's choice of not meeting earlier was correct. It was 10 in the morning when Kylo and Leonard knocked on his door. Charlton, not being able to sleep so well the other day, was still groggy. "Hey Charlie, wake up. It's already 10 o'clock. Kylo said as he knocked loudly. "It's still early," Charlton replied as he got up to open the door. "You just woke up." Leonard looked him from top to bottom, not liking what he saw. "Move quickly and take a bath. We'll wait for you here and then we can go have brunch. Don't make my sister wait." Charlton, not wanting to argue with his future brother-in-law, just nodded his head. "All right. You guys wait inside." The two went inside his room. Leonard sat in front of the dining table while Kylo rummaged through his fridge as Charlton went inside the bathroom. Unlike Serena's, Charlton's room was simpler and smaller. Since there were more male students in campus, their dormitory has more occupants, and having a solo room with its own bathroom was already a luxury. However, that did not mean that the room was lacking. It was a medium-sized studio room which had everything he needed. After taking a quick shower, Charlton went out of the bathroom with a towel around his waist as he forgot to bring his clothes with him. "Whoa! Where did that come from?" Kylo remarked as he approached him. Charlton looked at him confused. "What? This?" Kylo exclaimed as he pressed the bruise on the spot between his neck and shoulder. "Don't touch it." Kylo laughed aloud and wiggled his brows. "Good job, mate. What's going on?" Leonard asked, placing down the newspaper he's reading after hearing the commotion. "Nothing," the two answered at the same time. Leonard just looked at the strangely, then went back to reading. "By the way, you better clean that up," Charlton told Kylo after seeing the used utensils on the table. "Why? This is your room and I'm a guest," Kylo, not wanting to wash the dishes, said in defense. "You still owe me, and besides, Leonard also used a cup for his coffee. Why don't you tell him to wash it?" Charlton chose to ignore him as he walked back to the bathroom after collecting the clothes he meticulously prepared for the day. On the other hand, Charlton was careful enough not to leave any mark on Serena's skin. Thus, for the day, she chose to wear an off-shoulder light blue chiffon dress. "Wow Serena, where do you get your dresses? Can you give me the contact of your seamstress?" Serena chuckled. "Actually, I just tweak some of my dresses to achieve this look. If you like, I can help you with yours. I'll hold you up on that. But right now, we should go. We can't have your darling waiting." "Alright, let's go," Serena said as they exited her room. Earlier, Millie went to her room to have brunch. She interrogated her on what happened during her date yesterday. So, Serena, being a normal woman who wanted to share her overflowing feelings, excitedly told her that she and Charlton are now in a relationship and that they even had lunch in a private room. Of course, she omitted all the R.18 details. She shouldn't soil the ears of a real young maiden. "By the way, have you seen Jeffrey? He hasn't been joining us as of late," Kylo asked Leonard. The two of them were standing, while Charlton brought out his cello as he sat on the chair he placed beside the piano. "He's at an orphanage with some of the school's dignitaries." "What for?" "He has this outreach program for his project this year. We discussed it yesterday and the student council has already approved it. So, he must be there making arrangements. I never knew that he was such a philanthropist. But why the long face?" "Well, we had some disagreements. Anyway, you know him, when he's got something on his mind, he'll charge at it like a bull at a gate." Leonard and Kylo continued to discuss as Charlton tuned his cello. "Well, I don't see anything wrong with his project, so what did you guys disagree about?" He wanted to focus on a single orphanage. Not only that, he wanted us to go there at least twice a month, giving donations and even going as far as playing teacher to the orphans. Now, as I told him, the project sounds promising, but there's no need to just focus on a single orphanage. We can opt to choose several so that the cause will be more widespread. And although it may seem less personal, it will have greater publicity. Besides, focusing on one will cause resentment and discontent. Well, both of you have valid points. Though if it makes you feel better, I can honestly say that I lean towards your opinion more. So, what did he say about it? That what I suggested only looks good on the surface. Ouch. Anyway, when will you guys start with it? If things get finalized today, then maybe we'll go there next week to become acquainted with the place. So, will that be a year-long thing? That's the plan. Though we'll know the final details next week. If you have nothing better to do, feel free to join us. I'll pass. I'm not a fan of children. Kylo said laughingly. How about you, Charlton? Want to come join us? Charlton, who was also listening to their conversation, looked up from his cello. He did not fail to note the part where Leonard and Jeffrey will be heading to an orphanage on Sundays. I'll consider it. Just tell me when, then I'll see my schedule, he replied with a smile. Not that he has any plan to join them, he just needs to know when, because for him, that translates to more time with Serena. TBC. Chapter 27. Sunday with Friends 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Serena and Millie entered the private room, they saw the three boys, who seemed to be having a conversation, waiting for them. The three turned to face the door after hearing it make a creaking sound. Hi, we weren't late, were we? Serena asked. No, you're just on time, Leonard answered first as he approached them. Charlton's eye lit up when he saw Serena. He gave her that dazzling smile, which never fails to make her heart pound, as he stood up. Leonard guided Serena and Millie to sit on the shorter side of the couch, while he and the other two sat on the other side. Charlton and Serena threw each other funny looks, remembering what just transpired yesterday in this very same room and couch. Serena, last time, you mentioned that you don't have a sheet music for your song. Leonard, who sat adjacent to her, started. I brought some blank ones here. Do you think you write the notes? Serena shook her head. She can read, but has no confidence in writing one. No. I just have the melody in my head, she said as she made a self-depreciating smile. I can write it for you if you like. Charlton offered sweetly. Leonard raised his brow as he took a glance at Charlton, finding him strange. Choosing to ignore him, he continued to talk to Serena. Although not a music genius myself, I can still do this much. Perhaps, afterwards, Charlton and I can polish it. Can you play the song on the piano once more? While doing so, I will start writing. Leonard suggested. Okay. Serena agreed as she stood up. She sat in front of the piano while Leonard placed the sheet on top of it, using it as a makeshift desk. Serena and Charlton's eyes met as they recalled another episode. Serena started playing while the others stood around the piano. Leonard asked her to pause and repeat some parts as he wrote on the sheet. Upon completion, he asked Serena to sit back on the couch. Kylo, you go try and play this on the piano while Charlton and I will try to see the parts we can improve on. Leonard instructed Kylo. Although Kylo's music instrument of choice was the guitar, he still learned to play the piano. While Kylo was playing, Charlton and Leonard listened carefully. Afterwards, they started their deliberation on how to improve it. Meanwhile, Serena and Millie were both enjoying the eye candies in front of them. I have to say, you truly have great eyesight. All the three boys there are very handsome, but I must admit that your lover boy is without a doubt the hottest. Millie commented. Why else do you think would I pick him? Not only is he the hottest amongst the three, one can even say that no man can compare to him in this whole school. or should I say, empire. Serena said unabashedly as she continued to ogle Charlton, who was busy working with the other two. Not even the crown prince. Who, should I remind you, is still your fiancé? Millie teased. Ha! Not even in the slightest. Serena exclaimed with a grin. All right, your boyfriend is the best. Laughingly said. After a while Serena told the boys that she and Millie would go out shortly. The three, understanding that the two girls must be bored of waiting, voiced their agreement. Charlton looked up and turned to face the door when he heard it open. He saw that it was Serena, who just came back with her friend carrying what he assumed were snacks. He didn't notice the time, but looking at his watch, he saw that it was already 4 in the afternoon. Meaning it has already been roughly 3 hours since he and the boys started discussing the song. Hey, let's have a short break. The girls are back. Charlton suggested. Leonard, seeing his sister, nodded. Ha! I'm so not joining you on your practice ever again. I just came here to have some fun and provide some support. I didn't sign up for you two working me like a dog. Kylo complained. He has been asked to play the notes over and over while the two wrote on the sheet. Then they will have a short debate, make him play again, nod to each other, then make him play again, until such that the sound was to their satisfaction. Serena and Millie placed the snacks on the table as they sat back on the couch. The boys joined them. Are these for us? Kylo asked, already feeling quite hungry. Yes, please help yourself. Serena replied. Sorry, I didn't expect that our discussion would take this long. Leonard said. Don't mind us, brother. In fact, I appreciate you and Mr. Kylo helping Mr. Charlton and I with this. Anyway, how is it progressing? Slower than I would have liked. Later, you can try playing it again using the music sheet we prepared. Leonard said as he grabbed a sandwich. Okay. After they had their snack, Serena played the song on the piano. She just left it to them, and the song now sounds better. Her version was very simple, just enough for someone to sing with it. However, the boys made it sound better. To put it in better words, they made it sound good enough to not have a singer singing along. After playing it, Millie clapped, wow. That was amazing. Serena agreed and smiled as she complimented the boys, saying, this is so much better than my version. No, you're the real star here. You made that song, we just barely helped. Also, it's not complete yet. Leonard replied. Leonard's right, Miss Serena. Charlton agreed, feeling proud of his girlfriend. Oh, I know. Mr. Charlton, would you mind playing the song for us using your cello? Millie requested. All right. Please pardon my incompetence in advance. Charlton said with some humility. Charlton grabbed his cello and sat on the sit beside the piano. He smiled at Serena and started playing the song, their eyes meeting from time to time. Everyone was surprised. A prodigy is a prodigy indeed. He just heard the song a few times, and although he worked on the sheet music, it is still impressive that he can now play it on his own, and wonderfully at that. Serena felt like Charlton was serenading her with the song, making her feel the butterflies in her stomach. When he finished playing, seeing that the others were not looking at her, she met his eyes and blew him a kiss. Ugh, you don't have to rub it in. Fine, I bow down to you. You're really good at this, Kylo proclaimed exaggeratedly after Charlton finished playing. Millie looked at Serena with a knowing smile as she clapped. Okay, this time, let's try to hear it together with the piano. Leonard, who seemed to be the only one not affected, stated. Although it was their first time playing together, Charlton can easily be in tune with Serena. There's room for improvement, but it's good enough. There's still some room for improvement, but I think that singing the lyrics with the cello will cause friction. Leonard reviewed honestly. I agree with you on that, I will talk to Sir Felix about it. Charlton replied. But both your cello and Serena's lyrics sounds fantastic. I can't pick one over the other. Millie cut in. I agree with her, Kylo seconded. Alright, how about this, we play the cello and piano at church, then during their reception, we can play this song again without the cello, just the piano with Charlton singing. Serena suggested. Just the thought of Charlton singing made her eyes twinkle with mirth. That's a great idea. Kylo and Millie said at the same time. Kylo, thinking the thought of Charlton singing in public too funny to pass up. Millie, well, just honestly thinking that it would be so romantic. Huh. No, it's better if you sing it. Although Serena is his beloved, he can't imagine himself singing in public. Come on. Pretty please. I would really love to see and hear you sing. Serena said, acting pitifully cute. How can he say no to that face? Alright. But you have to sing with me. At least if he's not singing alone, it won't be too embarrassing. Leonard, finding it funny that Charlton will be singing, couldn't help but say, alright, how about we try that now? Serena, please play the piano again. Charlton, you sing. What? I don't even know the lyrics. Charlton rationalized, flustered. I'll write it down for you, Serena continued to tease. Oh, look at the time. It's almost dinner. Perhaps we should continue with our practice on another day. Charlton said as he pretended to look at his pocket watch. Everyone laughed at him. After a while, Serena took pity on him. Okay, it is indeed getting late. Perhaps we can continue next week after you talk to Sir Felix. We're not even sure if he will approve our arrangement, Serena said while keeping her tears of laughter in bay. Everyone nodded and called it a day. TBC. Chapter 28. Teacher's Pet Eye. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Serena checked herself in the mirror wearing her school uniform, satisfied. When Beatrice got it for her last Friday, she tried it on excitedly only to be disappointed. So, she altered it a little so that the skirt falls 3 inches above her knees. Although it was a little short, it made her legs look longer. Besides, she has seen girls donning shorter ones during the assembly. She also had to taper her blazer so that it fits her perfectly. When Serena reached the lobby, she saw Millie, Giselle and Via waiting for her. I see that some of us had the same thing in mind. Giselle said as she observed that she, Serena and Millie all altered their uniform. And I see that I'm the only one who was not informed. Via joked good-naturedly. The 4 of them laughed while they walked towards the main building. Last night, the boys dropped Serena and Millie to the ladies' dorm directly after dinner as they still have classes the next day. They met Giselle and Via at the lobby when they arrived. They then went inside her room to gossip. They talked about what they did the last 2 days. Serena also told them about her relationship with Charlton. She thought that it was better to tell it to them directly. First, it will be quite difficult to hide it from them. Second, it will only make things awkward in the future and they might even feel left out. Third, this will make them closer. Lastly, they can even help her and become her accomplice. The girls were surprised but decided to support her. As it was still early, they didn't meet a lot of people on the way to their classroom. Thus, Serena was pleasantly surprised when she saw Charlton leaning beside the railing of the stairs, as if waiting for her. He was reading a book, or at least pretending to, looking very much like the Adonis he was. She saw him raise his eyes, as if searching for someone. Then, their eyes met. She couldn't stop the smile blooming on her face. She didn't expect that he will be the one setting up their unexpected encounter. Charlton's eyes lit up when he saw Serena. He couldn't stop the upturn of his lips. Anyone who could see his face now would obviously know that he was very much love-struck. We'll see you later in class, Millie said as she and the girls smiled at them knowingly. They know. Charlton asked when the girls left. Serena nodded. Well, they're my friends and it will be difficult to hide it from them. Why? Are you upset? Of course not. If I could, I would want to shout out to the whole world that this girl, who is also the most beautiful girl in the whole empire, is mine. Charlton said with a winning smile. You and your sweet mouth. Serena said, wanting to kiss him. I'm just telling the truth. Serena giggled anyway. What is it you wanted to tell me? Can't I just want to see my girlfriend? By the way, your uniform suits you. But isn't the skirt a bit short? I've prepared this just for you. Don't you like it? Serena said naughtily. Well, I do admit that you look very beautiful in it, and damn sexy too. But don't interpret this the wrong way, it's just that I don't like the idea of other men looking at you with their lecherous eyes. No offense taken, but I'm not wearing this for them. It's just that wearing it this way makes me feel pretty. Serena explained. Okay, so long as you're happy. I'll just settle with me thinking of poking all their eyes out. Charlton said with a laugh. Now, seriously, why are you here? I just wanted to see you because I missed you. I also wanted to see my girlfriend wearing the school uniform for the first time. But now that I saw you in that, I can't help but wonder if, we can meet in the private room later. Serena giggled at his smoothness. Well, I have this assignment which I haven't managed to do just yet. So, I have to work on it later. Charlton frowned, then tentatively asked, how about I help you with it? Okay, meet me in the library after class. Serena said suggestively. Charlton's imagination suddenly skyrocketed as he smiled like an idiot. Seeing more people arriving, Charlton sent Serena to her classroom which was just beside the stairs. I'll see you later. Serena smiled at him and nodded in response. The day passed excruciatingly slow for Serena. She was just in her second class and she can't already help but yawn. The class was mathematics, and basic algebra was just too easy for her. It didn't help that their teacher, Mr. Sullivan, taught like he's teaching toddlers just because they were girls. Very good, Miss Evans, please be seated. The teacher said, quite satisfied that someone understood his lesson. Now let's move to the next example. Then he wrote on the board. 3 times plus 2 is equal to 11. Now, can anyone volunteer to go to the board and solve this question? He asked. No one raised their hand to answer. It's just our second class and I can already feel my brain bleeding. Giselle, who sat beside Serena, whispered. Serena turned to face her, thinking, seriously. What? Serena had to sigh. She recalled that these girls were just encountering this subject for the first time. In her era, basic algebra was taught to first-year high school students. She, although not a genius, graduated with a master's degree from one of the best universities in their country. So, there must be a huge disparity between her and their notion of difficulty for each subject. Not wanting to offend her friend, Serena just smiled and nodded. All subjects are difficult when you're encountering them for the first time. I've tried studying this subject before, so if you don't understand the concept, maybe I can help you. Gee. Thanks, Serena, you're the best. Ms. Morris and Ms. Maxwell, mind sharing with the class what you deign so important that you're not paying attention? The teacher called them. Nothing, sir, we're just wondering how to solve the question. Serena, not wanting to upset the teacher, said. Okay then, Ms. Maxwell, would you please come forward and try solving this for us? Serena, not having a choice, stood up from her seat and approached the board. Chapter 29. Teacher's Pet 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 29. Teacher's Pet 2. Should I just solve this directly? Oh well, I don't want to be branded as a bimbo. Serena pretended to think it through, then slowly wrote on the board. 3x plus 2 is equal to 11. 3x equals 11. 2 3x equals 9. X equals 9 thirds. X equals 3. Sir, did I do it right? Serena asked, feigning uncertainty. Although this is easy for her, she has no desire to be labeled as a genius. That just means more expectations and responsibility. Good, very good. Did you study this subject before? Even some of the male students couldn't solve this question, the teacher praised. I have read some books, but it should be credited to your brilliant teaching that I learned how to solve it, sir. Serena complimented. Well, there's nothing bad in being the teacher's pet. At least I will be able to get away with some things later. And although I don't like him that much, I can see his effort in teaching my classmates. All right, Ms. Maxwell, please be seated, he said. Wow, Serena, I'm now seeing you with new eyes. I never thought you were this smart. Vea flattered. Ha. Sure, puts that Ms. Evans on her place. Millie suddenly stated. What did she do to you? Serena raised her brow. Well, I just hate her smug look. Like she thinks that she is better than all of us just because she can answer the teacher's questions. Not only that, I've seen her making that face, you know, the face one makes when they just heard something stupid. It's like a frown with a mixture of disgust, when she thinks no one is looking. It's like she's judging everyone here as stupid just because they can't understand what the teacher is saying immediately. I have no doubt that she has already labeled us as dumb bimbos in that head of hers just because of the clothes we choose to wear. What aggravates me more is that she also particularly made that face when you were solving the question too. Like she had no doubt that you will get it wrong. She's such a goody two-shoes in front of the teachers, but really, she's just a pretentious bitch. Millie ranted. And you already got all that in just these 5 days you met her. You haven't even had a conversation with her yet. Serena remarked as she chuckled, young girls and their pettiness. Millie's right, I also hate her. Giselle seconded. Shoo, she might hear you. Via warned. You've got to trust me in this, Serena, my gut is never wrong when it comes to these things. That girl is bad news. Millie continued. Well, not that I like her or anything, but she has not done anything harmful to you or me. So, my advice is to just ignore her so long as she doesn't cross us. Serena said while thinking, in the end, she's the female lead and will be the future Queen of Windsor. It's still best for you guys to not make an enemy out of her for nothing. And if she does? Giselle just had to ask. Serena smirked. Please remind me not to get on your bad side. Giselle stated, feeling her skin crawl. After math was lunch. Their lunch break had different time schedule from the other levels. The reason was that the school wanted to avoid crowding in the canteen. For freshmen, lunch was from 11.30 to 12.30, for second year, it's from 12.30.1.30, and for seniors it's from 12.00 to 1.00. The seniors had overlapping schedule with the two because they were less in number. This made it difficult to meet with Charlton during school hours. Serena can only wait till dismissal to see him. Would you guys mind if we join you? A group of girls from their class asked Serena and her friends. Although there were still a lot of seats available in the canteen, there's nothing bad with them being friendly. Not at all. Please come join us. Serena responded with a smile. The girls whose names were Cornelia, Lydia and Eloise, praised her to heavens. Serena can only smile and shake her head. They told her that she was very beautiful and smart, that she would be a great queen someday. Etc. etc. What can she say? A lot of girls want to suck up to her. In comparison to her popularity, she saw from the corner of her eye that Emily was sitting with just one girl. From the novel, that girl was portrayed as her best friend. Isabel Price was an insecure princess from Balham who had a huge crush on Charlton. She met him during one of Emily's music rehearsals and she was instantly smitten. Well, who can blame her? Emily promised to help her, but nothing came out of it except for Charlton falling for Emily instead. Later, she and Emily will have a fall out, with her saying that Emily was a fox. Since they were best friends, Isabel knew Emily's secrets and she will also be the one to divulge the lot of it. She will continuously and anonymously post on the bulletin board that Emily was nothing but a two-faced social climbing gold digging slut. She will also write about how she seduced the crown prince despite him having a fiancé. Emily knew who was doing these things, for who else will know the details of her secrets? But she can't tell anyone that it was Isabel. Not because they were best friends, but because if she did, it will be like an admittance of what was written about her. Besides, who will believe her? Isabel was known as a painfully shy girl who can't even hit a fly. Plus, no one can even think of her motive in doing those things to her. So, when everyone pointed at Serena and blamed her as the one who did those things, she can only silently shrug her shoulders. Serena scowled, recalling that part in the novel. Hopefully, that will not happen now. She didn't really think that the girls were necessarily evil, it's just that children at this age tend to act that way. She was also just like that when she was younger, hating on the other girls, thinking everyone is just plainly good or bad. But as she grew older, she also gained some maturity. Of course, if they were to do those things to her, or even attempt to mess with her, she would not take it laying down. "Are you all right, Serena? Is the food not to your liking?" Lydia, who invited her to taste her packed lunch, asked worriedly. Serena smiled at the girl. "Of course not, this is actually very good. I've never tasted anything like it before." Lydia sighed in relief. "Thank you. If you like, I can cook more for you." "Thank you for your offer, but I cannot possibly impose on your kindness. Besides, I'm also looking out on my diet. If you were to give me more, I'm afraid that I'll have the thought of you trying to ruin my figure." Serena jested. Lydia blushed and all the girls laughed. After lunch, they returned to class. Serena's class schedule. "I decided to add philosophy just to balance the time. Time M/WT/TH 9.00. 10.15 Reading Economics 10.15.11.30 Math Philosophy 11.30.12.30 Lunch 12.30. 1.45 History Biology 1.45. 2.15 Break 2.15. 3.30 Geography Biology Lab 3.30, 4.00 Homeroom. Chapter 30. Studying in the library. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Since it's just the second week of classes, the number of students in the library was scarce. Earlier, Serena asked the girls to go ahead despite their insistence of joining her. Getting the hint, they first teased her, and then finally said their goodbyes, telling her to enjoy her time with her boyfriend. It's Serena's first time going in the library and not finding Charlton there just yet. She decided to look around. The library was located at the East Wing's third floor. Upon entering, she first noticed the long tables with benches at the middle of the two-tiered hall containing bookshelves. When she looked upwards, she saw the impressive high ceiling made of glass which made natural light filter through. On the right side of the entrance were two people who she assumed were the receptionist and the librarian. Walking around, she noticed that under the alcoves, there were still rows of bookshelves behind the ones facing the tables. She smiled to herself as she thought, "This is just perfect. My sad life of not having a boyfriend while in school made sure that I never got to try this before. Anyways, thankfully, they haven't invented CCTV cameras here yet. Haha." After getting familiar with the library, Serena chose to take a sit on one of the tables near the far end from the entrance. Sadly, all the chairs are in the middle. Where is he? He's running a little late. When Charlton arrived in the library, it was already nearing 5 in the afternoon. He first saw Serena's golden hair, shining under the glow of the setting sun. Her blazer was strewn across the table, making her look more comfortable. She seems to be focusing on doing some research as she had a book open while taking notes at the side. This look of concentration was beautiful on her too. Serena did not notice Charlton until he sat in front of her. "You're late," Serena said, not hiding the irritation that she felt. "I'm sorry, your brother just wouldn't let me go. He kept pestering me about working on the song and just wouldn't let me leave the room. I had to work with him for at least 30 minutes more after homeroom, and he even made me promise to work on it tomorrow until he's satisfied. In truth, he even wanted to follow me even when I told him I really had to work on something important. Thankfully, I finally got him off my back. If I didn't run to lose him, I'm afraid he would have followed me here." Charlton explained. "You're in the same class as him?" Serena asked as she chuckled. "Yes, me and Kylo." "So, what are you working on?" "Actually, I'm writing an essay for our homework on economics due tomorrow. But I want to stop now, I can continue working on it later." "Want me to help you with it?" "I'm not bad at writing myself." "No need, I can manage. Besides, I'm just trying to cross-reference if my knowledge about the subject is the same as it is here. I don't want to be spouting some theories not yet discovered during this time, as I can't even prove them. Sorry, my mathematical skills in doing derivations and whatnot is sorely lacking." "Okay. So, what should we do now? How about we try and study biology?" "Oh. Which part in particular?" he replied, his perverted mind getting what she was hinting at immediately. "Well, how about the human anatomy and the process of reproduction?" she lewdly suggested. "Do you have your reference materials ready?" "Not yet, let me look for it, I think they're located near the shelves behind me." "Care to join me?" Serena asked temptingly. Charlton's eyes blazed with anticipation. "I'm right behind you." Warning. Mature content, the two of them stood behind the last row of the bookshelves at the end of the library. The spot was at the corner and was inconspicuous enough. Serena leaned on the shelf attached to the wall as Charlton hungrily kissed her. "You do know that someone might see us?" Charlton said between their kisses while they catched their breath. "We just have to be very quiet and alert," Serena said, stifling her laughter from the tickling sensation she felt when his hand traced her leg under her skirt. Charlton detached his mouth from hers as he started trailing her earlobe with his tongue moving down to her neck. He tucked out the blouse from her skirt and crept his left hand in. He pulled the cups of her bras and freed her breast. He fondled them and then tweaked and pulled her nipples, which immediately perked up. He couldn't stop himself from suckling them, and when he did, his saliva left moisture to her white blouse, making it translucent enough to let him vividly see their pinkness. Serena couldn't help but tug his hair to pull him up for a kiss. As she did, Charlton continued to fondle her breast as his right hand moved up her legs. When Charlton reached her panties, he stopped for a second and looked at her strangely. "For easier access," Serena explained. For today, she was wearing a thong. "Since when did you plan to do this?" Charlton asked, feeling his arousal becoming more prominent if possible. "Since I first saw you outside the window making your mock salute," Serena answered truthfully. With that, Charlton had to kiss her again. Then he pushed her panties to the side and started caressing her womanhood. He felt it slick with her juices, so he directly inserted his index and middle finger, which he used when he made that mock salute to Leonard the first time she saw him, inside her wet heat, pumping it in and out of her as he rubbed her clitoris with his thumb. Charlton's ministrations drove her mad with ecstasy. Soon, she clamped at his fingers, reaching her first orgasm. When he removed his fingers from inside her, he placed them in his mouth and directly sucked of her juices. "Deliciously divine," he said as he smiled at her. Serena felt the heat get on her head as she pushed him away a little so she can move to unbuckle his belt, and set his throbbing member free. She stroked his whole length, making him groan. When she was about to go down her knees, he stopped her and instead, he turned her around. "I can't wait any longer," he said huskily and took her from behind in one clean thrust. Serena was sure that he was even larger now than before, but it helped that she too was dripping wet. His thrusts were measured at first, but quickly became frenzied. It was so intense that she could not stop her moans from escaping. Hearing her voice, Charlton pulled out from inside her, then turned her around so that they were facing each other, and he kissed her. This time, with her back leaning on the shelf for support, he lifted her 2 legs and buried himself inside while he continued kissing her. When Charlton felt Serena tremble with climax, he knew that he was just about to explode. "I'm coming," he said to warn her. "Not inside," Serena, who was still in her right mind, just had to say. Charlton nodded as he mindfully placed her down. Serena kneeled in front of him, held his shaft and started bobbing her head. Charlton couldn't stop himself from thrusting in and out of her mouth until he reached his release, spilling his seeds in her mouth. Serena gagged on his semen as she could not make herself swallow. It tasted and smelled horrible to her. She can only let it overflow from her mouth, and soil her blouse. "Don't want to kiss my mouth now?" Serena couldn't help but ask. Charlton can only laugh. Thankfully, the library, which closes at 7 in the evening, was almost empty that day. Charlton and Serena were the last students to exit at 6:45 in the evening. Charlton walked with Serena and stopped a few meters away from her dorm before saying their goodbyes. The next 3 days were uneventful. Serena became busy with school, and although most of the subjects were easy for her, the papers will not write by themselves. Aside from that, meeting with Charlton privately became difficult as Leonard insisted on finishing the sheet music for their song so that they can present it to Sir Felix on Friday for evaluation. Come Friday, Miss Phelps found a newfound inspiration in teaching the lot of them in swimming, and so, they were only dismissed half an hour before noon. Just enough time for them to take a quick shower and eat lunch. Charlton and Kylo waited for Serena and her friends outside the swimming club to have lunch together. In this way, there was no problem for Charlton and Serena to spend time together as they were accompanied by their group of friends. Aside from that, these people knew what was between the two of them, so things were not awkward. TBC.